On to our next big debate, the National Herald case. The plea of the Gandhis has been rejected. The case will go on. The Supreme Court has refused to stay the trial against Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. The Supreme Court has said that there is no justification in interfering in the trial at this stage. The court says, let there be a fair trial. At the same time, the court has expunged remarks made against the Gandhis by the Delhi High Court. Now, Subramanian Swamy, the petitioner in this case, who joins us at this stage, and also the Congress party, have been saying that it is a day of victory for them for different reasons. Dr. Swamy doesn't want to be part of this debate, but let me just briefly go across to him at this stage. Dr. Swamy, your personal interest, and correct me if I'm wrong, was to see that the Gandhis were in court, and they were in court each and every time. To that end, would you agree that what happened today is against what you had hoped for?
That's not what I said in the Supreme Court.
No, I'm saying, but wasn't it your intention or your interest to see the Gandhis in court? And to that end, didn't it go against you?
No, I was there on the very first day when we had it in the trial court. I said they have to come and take bail or they'll have to go to jail. I never said that their presence should be for every time. I only said that when they leave abroad, they should inform the court. The court said, well, you know, we don't think that, the trial court said, I don't think that they are going to run away. And even if they were, we'll take that account when it happens. And now today in the Supreme Court, I only said that the Supreme Court had no authority to give them exemption. They said, how do you say that? I said, there is a Supreme Court judgment, and I read out the judgment for them. And then they have noted it in their order that despite this, because there will be chaos, the kinds of crowds that come and the police that has to be deployed, therefore it would be much more convenient if they didn't come to the court.
So bottom line, they aren't going to be in court.
Exemption by the magistrate.
Right. So that can change. That can change should the trial court judge decide to call them. That is also a fact, sir. But they've not been called. But let's move on to another point. Let's move on to another point.
No. What is the victory in that? That's a stupid thing to say. It's a victory. I mean, exemption is given to Narasimha Rao. It was given to practically everybody.
Okay, sir. Let's look at another point. Now, the Supreme Court has expunged the High Court remarks pinning criminal intent on the Gandhis. Do you see that as a setback, sir?
No, not at all. That was an observation. They said that in the whole transaction that was presented shows that there was an element of criminality, and that these people said that they find it objectionable. I didn't object to that either. I said you can take it out because the main point were only two: that whether the trial will be stayed, and two, whether the orders of the two courts, Patiala Court and the High Court, saying that there is a prima facie case would be set aside. Neither of them happened. They did not stay the trial, and they said that the Delhi High Court order as well as the Patiala House Court showing prima facie case stands.
Okay. Last question to you, Dr. Swamy, and you're welcome to remain on this debate if you want. With our other panelists,
no,
that's up to you entirely. No, but my final question to you is, would you accept, Dr. Swamy, that from here onwards, proving criminal intent is going to be perhaps your most challenging legal battle as far as this case is concerned? Because there are those who will say that proving criminal intent is difficult against the Gandhis in terms of the transactions which have been committed.
Well, I've been hearing that every stage I have gone, they have been saying it's very difficult, but I have gone through these stages successfully. Criminal intent is the smallest part I have to prove. I have to show that the four charges that are there to be framed against them, that there is sufficient material for the court to hold a trial. And that's the next step, and I'm sure to be successful in that, because the facts that have been brought on record, not by me, by the Congress itself, in the Delhi High Court and in the Supreme Court. In the Supreme Court, they have given me 10,000 pages of documents, which of course now the Supreme Court has thrown it out. But those documents itself will prove it.
All right, Dr. Swamy, thanks very much for being with us. And once again, should you choose to be on with this debate, you're welcome to do so.
No, I have to.
All right, okay. Well, let's just, I want to go across to Mr. Ashwini Kumar, who joins us. We are also joined by Pinky Anand, the Additional Solicitor General, Sambit Patra with us, also Mr. KTS Tulsi. And I'd like to thank my other panelists very much for joining us. Ashwini Kumar, sir, you heard what he had to say. But the fact of the matter is that the trial against the Gandhis will continue. To that extent, this is a setback today for you in court.
Not at all. In fact, I must reiterate that the essence of our case before the Supreme Court was that the wholly unwarranted insinuations and observations that were not at all warranted at this stage or otherwise were a part of the single judge's order. We went to the court and said, the trial has still to begin. The charges are yet to be framed, and there's a sweeping kind of a statement of allegations and suggestions against the persons who are charged in this matter, who are facing trial in this matter. The Supreme Court, entirely agreeing with us, said yes, any comment which is of a definitive character or which is a final conclusion needs to be expunged.
But it's a very small victory. At the end of the day,
this is the essence of
fraud,
the victory.
cheating, breach of trust, the trial continues. The
trial may continue, but the trial, merely because the trial is continuing or an allegation is made, does not
one remark guilt. Of the High Court has been expunged.
No, not one remark. Paras 31 to 39. The remarks about criminal intent, yes, cheating, forgery, fraud, all expunged. That was the gravamen of our case before the Supreme Court. We were saying that we are being prejudged even before the charge is framed, even before the trial has begun. And I want to tell Mr. Subramanian Swamy and others, we have never been afraid of facing the court. That is why on the very first date of hearing, the entire leadership of the party went to the court. We have reiterated that we have full faith in the integrity of the judicial process, and we know in a fair trial our leaders will be completely vindicated and truth will prevail. So this politically motivated, malicious prosecution actually is going to fall flat. We are convinced about it.
Pinky Anand, would you like to come in on this? The fact that a number of remarks were in fact expunged by the court. Does this can this be interpreted to have gone in the favor of the Gandhis even before the trial actually commences?
I'm afraid see, I'm afraid I'm unable to understand how this could go in favor of any one party as alleged. The ultimate point is you have two courts who've held that the Gandhis should be summoned in a case made out on fraud and cheating and other arguments, charges that have been sustained. You've had that order being sustained by the Supreme Court. If any remarks have been expunged, the order itself is sustained. And I don't think that the Congress party went up in any limited appeal. Probably all the orders were challenged of the trial court, and the trial court and the High Court orders have been sustained. That means that the trial will go on A. B, the finding of the courts that there is a prima facie case is sustained by the Supreme Court order. So therefore, how can it possibly be said in any manner that it's victory? Exemption and all of these are not issues which really need to be debated about. They would probably have applied for exemption even before the trial court, and they could have at least had a modicum of consideration and possibly being granted. At this stage, exemption or expunging a few remarks I don't think makes any difference to the orders that have been sustained of the trial court and the High Court.
Sambit, let's look at the case itself. Now, misappropriation of property, breach of trust, cheating, these are some of the allegations which have been made against the Gandhis. But there is another perspective that according to the Representation of People Act 1951, any political party can in fact acquire property as long as can in fact acquire property if it is part in accordance with their charter. Yeah, I'm going to read that out. The Representation of People's Act 1951, which governs political parties or any other generally applicable law which expressly prohibits giving of loans or how political parties may spend their funds, as long as it is in accordance with their charter. So the argument over here appears to be quite simple. Their charter was to ensure that this newspaper, the National Herald, comes up properly, that it is revived, and therefore they have not committed any illegality. How do you counter that?
And the same thing was read out on the floor of the court by Abhishek Manu Singhvi and Kapil Sibbal. But the court did not accept that. And that's the reason as to why even today the Supreme Court upholds the orders of the two lower courts, Patiala Court as well as the High Court. If the judges would have been convinced by this argument, naturally the Supreme Court would not have come into this whole picture. The case would have fallen down right from the very beginning. And secondly, let me also tell you, as far as this celebration in Congress is concerned, I have a statement to make. I mean, those out on bail are celebrating. I mean, both accused number 1 as well as accused number 2. Accused number 1 is Sonia Gandhi ji and accused number 2 is Rahul Gandhi. Both of them are out on bail. Let's not forget that. And they have the audacity of celebration. 2 points. Let me make a very firm point over here. If you would see the application that the Congress moved on behalf of Sonia ji and Rahul ji to the Supreme Court, what Sonia ji stated was, I should be exempted from personal appearance and the trial should be stopped because of 2 reasons. Reason number 1, I have deep roots in the society. Reason number 2, I am the president of Congress. This is, I don't know what kind of sense of entitlement can corrupt people.
But that's
people
been
who have
accepted.
deep
That's
roots
been
in corruption
accepted.
have.
Go ahead, Mr. Kumar. Yes.
That's been accepted.
No, no.
In
let
fact,
me-
the
let me-
court.
let me-
In fact,
let-
the court.
No.
In fact,
Remember. No,
please
Mr.
let me say that.
Vishnu,
in fact, in the Supreme Court said that in view of the position that they occupy, they are not likely to
Yes.
abscond from justice, and therefore, what is the great fun in having them come to court every time? And therefore, whether the trial court grants them the exemption or the Supreme Court grants them the exemption, it should not make any difference, to which Mr. Subramanian Swamy had
Can
no
I-
answer. And therefore, the Supreme Court, taking into consideration, as it always does, the totality of circumstances, granted exemption from personal appearance. I think this was
Can
a
I now
recognition.
come in and
Okay,
this is a
Samit,
recognition
yes,
by the forefront?
of the
Samit, yes,
importance.
Samit, go ahead before I go across my other panelists. Yes.
Yes. Ashwini ji, yes, exemption has been granted, but remember this is a conditional exemption. But before I come to exemption, remember the most important issue with which you went to the court was stopping the trial, to stay the trial, which was not. So it's a defeat firstly. Secondly, as far as the exemption is concerned, I have the 4-page report, the verdict in front of me. What does the order state? It states that, look, it clearly states that the Gandhis, because of their stature, coming to the court will cause more inconvenience than convenience because of law and order situation. But which case? That the case which was stated by Mr. Subramanian Swamy, the 2011 case of T.G.N. Kumar versus State of Kerala, stands good, and that's the reason as to why whenever the lower court judge feels, he can summon both the accused number 1 and accused number 2, and both the accused number 1 and accused number 2 who are out on bail would have to comply by appearing in person.
Okay, I just want to move away. Samit, I get your point. I want to go across to KTS Tulsi. Mr. Tulsi, there are many who would actually say that let's not get deep into this, into the legal battle that takes place, because the larger allegations are absolutely huge. The larger allegations are of how the Congress put 90 crores into AJL, which then transferred this debt to Young India by paying just 50 lakhs. And in the process, the allegation is that the Congress came to control 2,000 crores worth of property. This is what we are actually looking at. Arun Jaitley has said that the Gandhis used Congress funds, which is against the IT Act. Are we losing sight of the larger picture over here, that this was a land grab?
No, I think we are losing sight of the picture that this is an internal matter of the Congress party. This was an internal matter of the family, which had established the newspaper. That newspaper was not able to come off the ground for various reasons, and the company, that is AJL, was not even able to pay for years together the salary of the employees, and therefore the Congress had to come to the aid of the AJL by raising loans from the banks and paying the money for the salaries and allowances on the directions of the High Court. Now this is completely an internal matter.
So therefore,
There
sir,
is-
if it
there
is an internal matter,
absolute-
Mr. Tulsi, if it is an internal matter, just as a
Yes.
as a matter of as a point of clarification, do you believe that if the
Yes.
Congress party were to categorically state that none of these properties will ever be sold, it would be fair? Because the allegation is they are acquiring it potentially to sell these properties in the future.
No. What may happen in the future is a different matter. Today there is no offense. There is no complainant. There is nobody complaining, nobody making a grievance of it. None of the persons, either Therefore, there is, according to me, there are no ingredients of the cheating. No false representation is alleged to have been made to anybody. No one's complaining of that false representation. No one's been denuded of that property. No one is complaining about that. This merely a political battle is being waged to humiliate the person.
All
you
right.
see, and there is no entrustment of anything.
Okay.
The Supreme Court has merely said that the trial court will consider this at the time of framing of charge. All the points that have been raised before the Supreme Court will be taken into account right at the threshold before the matter goes forward. So it is a complete and total lack of faith for the complainant
Pinky,
as well as the BJP.
Pinky,
if they still want to hold, if they still want to pretend that they are happy, well,
no, but every side is alleging, sir, that the other side is happy. Let's move away from the happiness angle. I'm sure we'll all agree it's a terribly sad story one way or the other. Pinky Anand, but this is a point that Mr. Tulsi makes that's also been raised in court, that what is really the locus standi of Subramanian Swamy to complain about this particular issue when nobody has really complained that they've been hurt or aggrieved in any matter by this commercial transaction?
Vishnu, I think that question has been answered at length in the judgments in question, and maybe one could refer to that. But at the bottom of the line, a criminal act is an act against the people. A criminal act is an act against society. A criminal act is such that an action can be put into motion by a complainant such as Dr. Swamy, which it has been. All these arguments, rightly or wrongly, you have in front of you. The Supreme Court has sustained those arguments at this stage. And I think we can go on from that. If there was an infirmity in that argument, the Supreme Court would have interfered in that, which it has not. So therefore, I think we'll have to leave it for just for purpose of argument to say there's no complainant. You have a complainant, you have the locus being established, you have the courts being holding, that locus has been established.
The only point that I would like to make here is that the Supreme Court has kept every single defense open, and at the threshold these points will be argued, including the question of jurisdiction of the court, including the question of the locus standi of the complainant. Whenever you say that a criminal act, whenever you say that there is a criminal act against the people, and therefore it becomes an act which is cognizable, does not mean that just anyone can go to court and invoke the jurisdiction of the court. There is a cause of action in personam and a cause of action in rem. A criminal action right to prosecute someone is available to the person who is actually cheated, who is actually aggrieved. Nobody from the street can just go on and invoke the criminal processes of the state against the citizen of the country. Therefore, please remember the first principles of criminal jurisprudence, that you do not unleash the prosecutorial processes of the state upon a whim and for political reasons by way of political persecution.
Sambit, Mr. Kumar says this is a whim.
No, in fact, let me begin with the rhetoric today. I have two senior political opponents, Mr. Kumar and Mr. KTS Tulsi. I believe these two senior political opponents should replace Mr. Kapil Sibal and Abhishek Manu Singhvi as the lawyers of the Gandhis in the court, because they are out here to defend the Gandhis. These points have been kept in the court, I believe, by Kapil Sibal and Abhishek Manu Singhvi. Might be they did not keep these points, and that's the reason as to why the court, the observation of court was contrary to what we are discussing today, what they are trying to prove over here. And let me put out, I mean, if Mr. KTS Tulsi was right now saying that certain remarks have been expunged, well, from 31, para 31 to para 39 is what has been mentioned. I have the complete judgment, I have the complete observation of the High Court over here. Read till para 30. You will find an umpteen number of times. Let me give you an example. I am reading out para 24, 2 lines. AJL has blatantly duped and large public interest has been sacrificed, which serious cause of concern as the trust reposed in Congress party has been openly breached. So I'll read out till para 30. Go till para 30. Everywhere the indiction is quite clearly visible. So what are we talking about? In fact, the Supreme Court only told that a firm
even before the trial has begun. Mr. Patra, please. How can there be an indictment before even the trial has begun? The gravamen of the order, the purpose of the order, or the spirit of the order of the Honorable Supreme Court is that any observation of a definitive character which shows that the court has made up its mind one way or the other has to be expunged because the trial has yet to go on. The idea is that the trial court must be free from any biases.
Okay, Mr. Kumar, one sec. Mr. Tulsi has a point, and I'll go to Pinky Anand after that. Mr. Tulsi, yes, go ahead.
Yes.
All that I want to say is that if Mr. Sambit Patra can be happy with this, let him be. Let him be happy for a while. No problem.
No, but sir, substantively, sir, I don't think this is an
What's the
issue
problem?
of
My happiness is the problem.
that.
Or the
It is not.
sadness
It
of
is
the
not an
Gandhi
issue.
family is
It
the
is not an
problem?
issue
No
of
problem.
happiness. All right.
I am saying no problem.
No, but sir, what is your specific point that you're trying to make, sir? The legal argument that you're
My
trying to
point-
make. Yes.
I am saying that the Supreme Court has expunged 9 paragraphs of the High Court, which was the problem. That is why this petition was filed in the Supreme Court. The complete relief has been given. In fact, the Supreme Court has given more relief than was perhaps sought on the very first
We are
hearing.
going back to the earlier
And they
argument.
have said that the trial court will consider all
But
this.
sir, how is it complete
But they
relief?
want to be happy,
How
let
is
them
it
be happy.
complete relief today, sir? If a trial, if a trial is going to take place at the level of the trial court, if sir, the case remains.
No trial
sir.
is going to take.
Sir, the case remains.
No, please. I am sorry, we must understand the meaning of the word trial. Trial is not going to take place at the stage of charge. The trial court, not
Yes.
trial.
Yes, the
trial
trial
court
court.
will consider all these arguments before framing charge.
Okay.
Now that is the direction.
Pinky, would you like to
We-
come in
they've
over
not
here?
been forced to.
The argument being made by Mr. Tulsi
I
is that
I don't know what Mr. Tulsi is saying. It doesn't sound any brilliance to me. Today you
course
have
you
a
don't know.
situation where a summoning order is passed, and we all know that criminal law requires that a court has to be satisfied on prima facie basis that a case is made out of criminality which requires the attention of the court to proceed further. Once the court finds that, the court proceeds further. The judgment has been sustained. The Supreme Court pleadings obviously were not confined to only expunging of remarks, and therefore there is no
After
question of
expunging
complete
9
victory.
paragraphs.
Otherwise
all
the
right,
court
we
would have
need to-
set aside
we
the
need
order.
to-
The
we need
question
to-
of the trial court, considering the issues at the stage of framing charges, the court always considers the question, all the questions at the stage of
these
framing
are occasions
charges.
when I
So
wish
again, that is
I
something
wish
which
I
is
was
not
a lawyer
Nice
or a
paragraph
judge,
is
because
expunged.
frankly a lot of these arguments
And if a
can
prima
only be
facie case is
resolved
made out,
by a
the
judge
chances
and by
of
a
the charges
court.
being sustained are very
If
high.
ever there was an
So I think
occasion
we
when
can only leave it at that.
when the media should not have been judge, jury and executioner, it was this. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. We need to take a break. We are moving on to something completely different, but perhaps far more profound. It's been referred to as one of the most important discoveries of our times, gravitational waves. We're going to meet the Indians who have been part of this remarkable discovery.